Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, Text 27. We have been hearing the instructions of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva to his sons. Mano vachodre karane hitasya
Vachodre karane hitasya
sakshat kritam me paribarhanam hi.
sakshat kritam me paribarhanam hi.
Vina pumanye maha vimohat
Vina pumanyena maha
kritan tapashan vimoktumishe.
krita tapashan
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The true activity of the sense organs, mind, sight, words, and all the knowledge gathering and work senses is to engage fully in my service. Unless his senses are thus engaged, a living entity cannot think of getting out of the great entanglement of material existence, which is exactly like Yamaraja's stringent rope. As stated in the Narad Pancharatra, Sarvapadhi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. This is the conclusion of bhakti. All the time, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva has been stressing devotional service. And now he's concluding by saying that all the senses should be engaged in the Lord's service. There are 5 senses by which we gather knowledge, and 5 senses with which we work. These 10 senses and the mind should be fully engaged in the Lord's service. Without engaging them in this way, one cannot get out of the clutches of Maya. So Lord Ṛṣabhadeva is now saying how to engage in devotional service, to engage the senses in the service of God. Rishikena Rishikesha, Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. To engage the senses in the service of master of the senses. We think we are the master of our senses. We are thinking this body belongs to us, our hands, our legs, eyes, ears, nose belongs to us. But actually the master of senses is Lord Krishna. That's why he's called Rishikesh, master of senses. So engaging the senses in his service. What are the few ways that we could engage the senses in the service of the Lord? Some ways.
Offering prasad.
Yes, offering bhoga to the Lord. Yeah.
Doing the aarti.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Very good. Even seeing the deity is, the senses are engaged.
making prasad and going to the temple.
Yeah, making bhog for the Lord, yes. Going to the temple, yes. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. Also hearing and chanting. When we are hearing about the glories of the Lord. So we are engaging in His service. In chanting His glories, we are also engaging the tongue in His service. And of course, when we are going to the temple, then our hands, legs, everything is working. When we are offering bhoga to the Lord, also all the senses are engaged. Very nice. Thank you. Shri Shukavacha.
Shri Shukavacha.
Evam anushasyaatmajan swayam anushishtan api loka anushashnartham.
evam anushashyat majan swayam anushishtan api lokanushashanartham.
Mahanubhava Paramasurit Bhagavan Ṛṣabhadeva Upashama.
Mahanubhava Paramashurit Bhagavan Ṛṣabhadeva Upashama.
Shilanam Uparata Karmanam Mahamuninam Bhakti Jnana
Shilan Dharmanam Mahamuninam Bhakti Jnana.
Vairagya Lakshanam Parahamsaya Dharmam Upashikshamana Swa.
Vairagya Lakshanam Paramahamsya Dharmam Upashikshamana.
Tanaya Shata Jyeshtam Parama Bhagavatam Bhavajjana.
Tanaya Shata
Vishtam Parama Bhagavatam Bhagavajjana.
Bhagavajana.
Parayanam Bharatam Dharani Palana Yabhishchya Swayam Bhavana.
Parayanam Bharatam Dharani Parayam Bhavana.
Kevor Bharita Sharira Matra Parigraha Unmata Iva Gagan.
Ita Sharira Matra Vigraha Unta Iva Gagana.
Paridhana Prakirna Kesha Atmani Aropitahavaniyo Brahma Vartat Pravavraj.
Paridhana Prakirna Kesha Atmani Aropitahavaniyo Brahma Vartatat. Vajja.
Sukadev Goswami said, thus the great well-wisher of everyone, the Supreme Lord, Ṛṣabhadeva, instructed his own sons. Although they were perfectly educated and cultured, he instructed them just to set an example of how a father should instruct his sons before retiring from family life. Sannyasis who are no longer bound by fruitive activity and who have taken to devotional service after all their material desires have been vanquished also learn by these instructions. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva instructed his 100 sons, of whom the eldest Bharat was a very advanced devotee and a follower of Vaishnavas. In order to rule the whole world, the Lord enthroned his eldest son on the royal seat. Thereafter, although still at home, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva lived like a madman, naked and with disheveled hair. Then the Lord took the sacrificial fire within himself and he left Brahmavrat to tour the whole world. Actually, the instructions given to Lord Ṛṣabhadev's sons were not exactly meant for his sons because they were already educated and highly advanced in knowledge. Rather, these instructions were meant for sannyasis who intend to become advanced devotees. Sannyasis must abide by Lord Ṛṣabhadev's instructions while on the path of devotional service. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva retired from family life and lived like a naked madman, even while still with his family. So Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, he is the Supreme Lord. Many people try to imitate his behavior without understanding that one cannot imitate the Lord's behavior. Rather, one has to follow the instructions that he has given. These instructions Lord Ṛṣabhadeva is giving to his sons is not meant for his sons. It's for us to perfect our lives. His sons are already, they know, engaged in devotional service to the devotees. But he is giving this knowledge for our benefit. So one has to follow his instructions, not imitate him. Like, we cannot imitate Krishna to hold the Govardhan hill, right? But we can follow the instructions of Lord Krishna as spoken by him in Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, one should not imitate Lord Ṛṣabhadev's behavior, rather one should follow the instructions he has given. Jarandha mukha bahira pishachon madak avadhuta.
Jadanda Mukhabadira Pishtacho Avad
Vesho vibhashyamanopi jananam grihita mona vratastushni babhuva.
Vesho Abhibhav Mano Pijana Grita Monavtastush Babhuva.
After accepting the feature of Avadhut, a great saintly person without material cares, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva passed through human society like a blind, deaf, and dumb man, an idle stone, a ghost, or a madman. Although people called him such names, he remained silent and did not speak to anyone. The word Avadhut refers to one who does not care for social conventions, particularly the Varna Sharma Dharma. However, such a person may be situated fully within himself and be satisfied with the Supreme Personality of Godhead on whom he meditates. In other words, one who has surpassed the rules and regulations of Varna Sharma is called Avadhut. Such a person has already surpassed the clutches of Maya and he lives completely separate and independent. So Lord Ṛṣabhadeva is living like a Avadhut, one who has no cares, one who does not belong to, before he was a Kshatriya, no, he was a king. But now he is like above the Varna Sharma Dharma. Actually, he's the Supreme Lord himself. So he is in his own, well, this is his pastimes, what we can say, like Lord Nityananda. He's Avadhut also. You know, it's just so completely blissful in their own pastimes. So we can see that we cannot imitate Lord Ṛṣabhadeva. We are bound by the modes of nature. We have not passed the clutches of Maya. And Lord Ṛṣabhadeva is incarnation of God. So tatra puragramakara ketavata kharvata shibira vraja.
Tatra Pura Grama Kara Kheta Vata Karvata Shibira
Gosha sartha girivanashramadishva anupatham avanichara pasade.
Gosha Sartha Giri Vanashram Madhisri Anupatam Avanicha Chara Pasade.
Paribhuyamano makshikabhir iva vana gajastarjana.
Paribhuya Mano Makship Kabhir Iva Vana Gajas Tarjana.
Tadanava mehana sthivana grava shakrit raja prakshepa putivata.
Tadanavami Anasti Grava Shakrit Raja Shepa Putti Vata.
Duruktastat abhiganayan eva sat samsthana etasmin.
Duruktestad Abhiganayan Eva Sat Samsthana Etasmin.
Dehopalakshane sat apadesha ubhaya no bhava swarupena swa.
Dehopalakshane Sat Apadesha Ubhayanubha Bhava Swarupena Swa.
Mahimavasthane na samar opitaham mamabhimanatvad.
महिमावस्थानेन समारोपिताहं ममाभिमानत्वत् त्वत्
अविखंडिता मना पृथ्वीम एकचर परिभ्राम
अविकण्डितमना पृथ्वीम् एकचर परिबभ्रराम.
Ṛṣabhadeva began to tour cities, villages, mines, countrysides, valleys, gardens, military camps, cow pens, the homes of cowherd men, transient hotels, hills, forests, and hermitage. Wherever he traveled, all bad elements surrounded him, just as flies surround the body of an elephant coming from a forest. He was always being threatened, beaten, urinated upon, and spat upon. Sometimes people threw stones, stool, and dust at him, and sometimes people passed foul air before him. Thus people called him many bad names and gave him a great deal of trouble. But he did not care about this, for he understood that the body is simply meant for such an end. He was situated on the spiritual platform, and being in his spiritual glory, he did not care for all these material insults. In other words, he completely understood that matter and spirit are separate, and he had no bodily conception. Thus, without being angry at anyone, he walked through the whole world alone. Narottam Das Thakur says, Deha Smriti Nahi Yaar, Samsara Bandhana Kahantar. When a person fully realizes that the material body and world are temporary, is not concerned with pain and pleasures of the body. So we can see that why the devotees, why they are able to do what they do, because they've understood that they are not this body. They've understood they are the soul. They've understood that because of the body, sometimes there'll be happiness, sometimes there will be pain. They've understood that this is the nature of the material world, sometimes happiness, sometimes pain. As Sri Krishna advises in Bhagavad Gita 2.14, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada agma payino nityastam stitikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So Krishna is telling to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 14, Tamstitikshasva Bharata. He's saying, learn to tolerate. Tolerate what? The happiness and distress, that they are non-permanent. Krishna is saying they're non-permanent. Because they're non-permanent, of course, sometimes they will be there, sometimes they will not be there. So Krishna is explaining it's like sometimes it's winter, sometimes it's summer. Similarly, sometimes it's happiness, sometimes it's distress. What we do is we get very happy when there is happiness and we get very distressed when there is suffering. But Krishna is saying tolerate both. Have a balance of mind, because they both are coming from sense perception. Our mind is what is making us think, this situation is happy for me, this situation is suffering for me. It's so our senses, perception. It's not the truth, because we are not the body, we are the soul. But we are thinking we are the body, and we are thinking this situation is good for me, or this situation is not good for me. So Krishna is saying, anyway, just tolerate it. Whatever is coming, tolerate it. So then how can we tolerate? By depending on Krishna, understanding Krishna as my best friend. Because happiness, of course, we like it, but suffering, we don't want to tolerate suffering. We get so bewildered, our mind gets so restless. Then we have to continue to chant, associate with the devotees. Depending on Krishna, understanding that he's our best friend. So somehow or the other, we have to learn to tolerate. As far as Ṛṣabhadeva is concerned, it has already been explained. Idam shariram mama durvibhavya. He did not at all possess a material body, and therefore he was tolerant of all the trouble offered to him by the bad elements in society. Consequently, he could tolerate people's throwing stool and dust upon him and beating him. His body was transcendental, and consequently he did not at all suffer pain. He was always situated in his spiritual bliss. So his body is transcendental. He's not concerned with the material world. He's not bothered by what people are saying or talking because he's on the transcendental platform. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1861, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddesha arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantrarur dani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. So we are the living entity. We are inside this machine. This entire material creation is called a machine. Our body is a machine with which to fulfill our desires. And the Lord, the Paramatma, God is in our heart. And He is the one who is fulfilling our desires. He's directing the wanderings of all of us. So Krishna himself is saying that God is there in our heart and He's fulfilling our desires. Since the Lord is situated in everyone's heart, He's in the heart of hogs and dogs also. If hogs and dogs in their material bodies live in filthy places, one should not think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Paramatma feature also lives in a filthy place. Although Lord Ṛṣabhadeva was maltreated by the bad elements of the world, he was not at all affected. So, Paramatma is there in the heart of the human being. Paramatma is also in the heart of the dog, also heart of a pig. So it doesn't mean the Paramatma does not get affected. The sun shines everywhere. The sun is shining in a nice garden, also in a filthy place. But the sun remains pure. Sun does not get affected. Therefore, it is stated here, Swamahima Avasthanena. He was situated in his own glory. He was never saddened due to being insulted in the many ways described above. Does anyone want to add anything? Comment anything? Then we continue to read. Ati Sukumara Karachara Charanora Sthala Vipula Bahav Amsagala.
Ati Sukumara Karacharo Charanora Sthala Vipula Bhava Amshakala.
Badanadi Avyava Vinyasa Prakriti Sundara Swabhava Hasa.
Vadanadi avayava vinyasa prakriti sundara swabhava hasa.
Sumukho Navanalina Dalayamana Shishira Tara Runaya Tanayana.
Sumukho navanalina dalayamana shishirata
Ruchira Sadrisha Subhaga Kapo La Karna Kantanasho Vikuda Smita.
Ruchira Sadrisha Subhaga Kapola Karna Kantha Naso Viguda Smita.
Madana Mahotsavena Puravanitana Manasi Kusuma Sharasanam.
Vadana महोत्सवेन पुरवनितानां मनसि कुसुम शासन
Upadadhana parag avalam bamana kutila jatila kapisha kesha.
उपददान पराग अवलंब मान कुटिल ईशकेश
Huri bharo vadhuta malena nija sharirena graha grihita ivadrishyata.
भूरि भारो अवधूत मलिन निज शरीरेण ग्रह गृहीत इवादृश्यत.
Lord Ṛṣabhadeva's hands, feet and chest were very long. His shoulders, face and limbs were all very delicate and symmetrically proportioned. His mouth was beautifully decorated with his natural smile, and he appeared all the more lovely with his reddish eyes spread wide like the petals of a newly grown lotus flower covered with dew in the early morning. The irises of his eyes were so pleasing that they removed all the troubles of everyone who saw him. His forehead, ears, neck, nose, and all his other features were very beautiful. His gentle smile always made his face beautiful, so much so that he even attracted the hearts of married women. It was as though they had been pierced by arrows of Cupid. About his head was an abundance of curly, matted brown hair. His hair was disheveled because his body was dirty and not taken care of. He appeared as if he were haunted by a ghost. Although Lord Ṛṣabhadeva's body was very much neglected, his transcendental features were so attractive that even married women were attracted to him. His beauty and dirtiness combined to make his beautiful body appear as though it were haunted by a ghost. So, but we should not misunderstand that Lord Ṛṣabhadeva's body is transcendental, is spiritual, is not material. It's appearing this way, dirty and neglected, but it's actually transcendental. No ordinary person can do what he did, no? Yarhi vavasa bhagavan lokam imam yogasyartha pratipam.
Vivavase Bhagavan Lokam Imam Yogashyadı Pratipam.
Ivachakshanas tat pratikriya karma vibhasitam iti vritam.
Ivachakshanas tat pratikriya karma bhivatsitam iti vratam.
Ajagaram asthita shayana evashnati pibati khadati avamehati.
Ajagaram astita shayana evashnati pidati khadati avamehati.
Adati sma cheshtamana ucharita adi do deshaha.
Adati sma
चेत आदि देशः.
When Lord Ṛṣabhadeva saw that the general populace was very antagonistic to his execution of mystic yoga, he accepted the behavior of a python in order to counteract their opposition. Thus he stayed in one place and lay down. While lying down, he ate and drank, and he passed stool and urine and rolled in it. Indeed, he smeared his whole body with his own stool and urine so that opposing elements might not come and disturb him. According to one's destiny, one enjoys allotted happiness and distress, even though one keeps himself in one place. This is the injunction of the Shastras. When one is spiritually situated, he may stay in one place, and all his necessities will be supplied by the arrangement of the Supreme Controller. Unless one is a preacher, there is no need to travel all over the world. A person can stay in one place and execute devotional service suitably, according to time and circumstance. When Ṛṣabhadeva saw that he was simply being disturbed by traveling throughout the world, he decided to lie down in one place like a python. Thus he ate, drank, and he passed stool and urine and smeared his body with them so that people would not disturb him. So first he was walking around the whole world, but people were so antagonistic towards him. So he said, okay, well, I'm just going to stay in one place. And he's doing everything in one place, eating, sleeping, passing stool and urine, everything. Tasya ya purisha surabhi saugandhya vayus tam desham dasha.
Tasya haya purisha surabhi saugandhya vayustam desham dasha.
Yojanam samantat surabhim chakara.
Yojanam samantat surabhim chakara.
Because Lord Ṛṣabhadeva remained in that condition, the public did not disturb him. But no bad aroma emanated from his stool and urine. Quite the contrary, his stool and urine were so aromatic that they filled 80 miles of the countryside with a pleasant fragrance. From this, we can certainly assume that Lord Ṛṣabhadeva was transcendently blissful. His stool and urine was so completely different from material stool and urine that they were aromatic. Even in the material world, cow dung is accepted as purified and antiseptic. A person can keep stacks of cow dung in one place, and it will not create a bad odor to disturb anyone. We can take it for granted that in the spiritual world, stool and urine are also pleasantly scented. Indeed, the entire atmosphere became very pleasant due to Lord Ṛṣabhadeva's stool and urine. So we may scratch our heads and say, oh my God, stool and urine smell. But here we are hearing Lord Ṛṣabhadeva's stool and urine is fragrant. Well, such are spiritual matters, inconceivable. We cannot understand with our material senses, but we accept them. We accept whatever knowledge is being given to us. Evam go mriga kaka chara charyaya vrajam stishtan ashina shayana.
Evam gomrika kakachari charyaya vrajam tishthan ashina shayana.
Kaka mriga go charita pibati khadati eva mehati sma.
Kakamriga gocharita pipati khadati ava mehati sma.
In this way, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva followed the behavior of cows, deer, and crows. Sometimes he moved or walked, and sometimes he sat down in one place. Sometimes he lay down, behaving exactly like cows, deer, and crows. In that way, he ate, drank, passed stool and urine, and cheated the people in this way. Being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva possessed a transcendental spiritual body. Since the general public could not appreciate his behavior and mystic yoga practice, they began to disturb him. To cheat them, he behaved like crows, cows, and deer. So just so that he could be left alone to do his own thing, people were becoming very offensive toward him. They were disturbing him. They were hurting him. So just to be left alone, he was behaving like this. Eating, sleeping, wherever. So 5:35. Iti nana yoga charya charano Bhagavan Kaivalya Pati Ṛṣabho Virata.
Iti nana yoga charano Bhagavan Kaivalya Patir Ṛṣabho Virata.
Parama Maha Nanda-nubhava atmani sarvesham bhutanam atma.
Parama Mahananda Nandanubhava Atmani Sarvesham Bhutanam Atma.
Bhute Bhagavati Vasudeva Atmano Vyavadhananantarodara.
Bhute Bhagavati Vasudeva Atmano Vyavadhanantarodara.
Bhavena siddha samstartha paripurno yogeshwaryani vehayasa.
Bhavena Siddha Samastartha Paripurno Yogeshwar Yani Vaihayasa.
Manojavan tardhana parakaya pravesha dura grahana dini.
Manojavan Tar Dana Parakaya Pravesha Dura Grahanatini.
Yadra chayopagatani nanjasan ripashita yena vayananda.
Yadricha Yopa
Mm,
Tani Nanjasa Nirpa Hridayena Bhayanat.
and
O King Parikshit, just to show all the yogis the mystic process, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna, performed wonderful activities. Actually, he was the master of liberation and was fully absorbed in transcendental bliss, which increased 1,000-fold. Lord Krishna Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, is the original source of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva. There is no difference in their constitution. And consequently, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva awakened the loving symptoms of crying, laughing, and shivering. He was always absorbed in transcendental love. Due to this, all mystic powers automatically approached him, such as the ability to travel in outer space at the speed of mind, to appear and disappear, to enter the bodies of others, and to see things far, far away. Although he could do all this, he did not exercise these powers. In the Caitaniya Caritamita Madhya 19.149, it is said, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ateva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakaliya Shanta. The word Shanta means completely peaceful. Unless all one's desires are fulfilled, one cannot be peaceful. Everyone is trying to fulfill his aspirations and desires, be they material or spiritual. Those in the material world are ashant, without peace, because they have so many desires to fulfill. The pure devotee, however, is without desire, anya vinashita shunya. A pure devotee is completely free from all kinds of material desires. So the devotee, he's saying he's free from desires because he has only spiritual desire. He has only desire to please Krishna. So that is not a material desire. We are not peaceful because we have so many desires. One desire we fulfill, there's 1,000 others. And so then that's what disturbs our peace, brings us anxiety. But on the spiritual platform, very peaceful. Just need to please Krishna. That's it. So, karmis, on the other hand, are simply full of desires because they try to enjoy sense gratification. They are not peaceful in this life, nor the next, during the past, present, or future. Similarly, jnanis are always aspiring for liberation and trying to become one with the Supreme. So we can see, we have material desires. We want to enjoy this material world. So we have so many desires. Then the jnanis, they also have a desire. Become God, become one with God, merge into the existence of God. So, and what about the yogis? The yogis are aspiring after many siddhis, powers, anima, lagima, prapti, etc. So even the yogis have desire. However, a devotee is not at all interested in these things because he is fully dependent on the mercy of Krishna. Krishna is Yogeshwar, the possessor of all mystic powers, siddhis, and he is Atmaram, fully satisfied. So the pure devotee, his only desire is, how can I please Krishna? How may I please Krishna? He has no other desire. No desire to enjoy the material world, no desire to become one with God, no desire for any of the mystic siddhis. Now Krishna, he is called Yogeshwar, the master of all mystics. Yogeshwar, Yoga Ishwar, master of all the yogis, master of all the mystics is Krishna. So one may possess some mystic power, becoming so big or becoming so tiny or traveling in the space or even creating one planet. The yogis can even create a planet or they can expand 7 times. But then all the 7 expansions have to do the same thing. Not that one will eat, one will sleep, one will walk. No, all of them have to do the same. But Krishna, how many expansions? 16,108 and all doing different things. So he is master of all mystic powers. Atmaram, fully satisfied. Krishna does not need anything external to make him satisfied. He is always happy. The yoga siddhis are described in this verse. One can fly in outer space without the aid of a machine, and he can travel at the speed of mind. This means that as soon as a yogi desires to go somewhere within this universe, or even beyond this universe, he can do so immediately. So he doesn't need to make any flight bookings, any hotel bookings, doesn't have to check any visa requirement. He can travel. This is one of the siddhis. So it's very attractive. These siddhis are very attractive. We say, why not? Why not? We can travel from here and there. Sounds attractive. But the pure devotee, he wants nothing. He wants only to please Krishna. So one cannot estimate the speed of mind, for within a second, the mind can go many millions of miles. How? Because right now we may be sitting wherever we are sitting, but the mind may go to another country, a distant place, even another planet. So the mind can travel. Some yogis enter into the bodies of other people and act as they desire when their bodies are not working properly. Sounds scary, Then they can use another body, like a ghost then. That's what the ghosts do, isn't it? They fulfill their desires by entering into someone else's body. Anyway, when the body becomes old, a perfect yogi can find a young, able body. Giving up his old body, the yogi can enter into the young body and act as he pleases. Being a plenary expansion of Lord Vasudeva, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva possessed all these mystic yoga powers, but he was satisfied with his devotional love of Krishna, which was evinced by the ecstatic symptoms such as crying, laughing, and shivering. So he's an incarnation of Krishna, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, and he's engaging in devotional service to Krishna. And he's feeling completely blissful, completely happy. So he is incarnation of God, but what he's doing, he's engaging in devotional service to Krishna, and he's instructing each one of us to engage in devotional service to Krishna. Of course, we cannot attempt his behavior, imitate his behavior, but we follow the instructions. Following the instructions. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 5th canto, 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Lord Ṛṣabhadeva's Teachings to His Sons. Does anyone want to add anything, comment anything?
Yeah, it shows, Hare Krishna, it shows he was so fully surrendered.
Hare Krishna, fully surrendered, yes.
Yes, yes. even though he had all the powers, he chose to, just tolerate. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
He has all the powers. He's choosing to tolerate. He doesn't use anything. Yeah. He's simply engaging in devotional service.
And he was a king, and he left everything and lived a ascetic life, no? In the
Yeah.
forest.
Yeah. Yes. He had a king. Imagine he's the emperor of the whole world. And he's giving it up. Not easy, no? So
Not
much
easy.
power, so much control. He's giving it up. So much
Totally like giving up
opulence.
everything. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
He gave up everything, like, totally. Imagine,
Yeah.
like, not even wearing clothes. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So difficult. But he's completely mad in love for Krishna.
Krishna. Yeah.
That's what he's teaching. So then again, we have to keep reminding that we cannot imitate his behavior because we cannot, right? Imagine if we were to smear our body with stool and urine, people would run away, maybe put us in mental asylum or something.
And his
But
stool
here,
and
Lord
urine
Krishna,
is transcendental.
fragrant.
I mean, no, yeah. And ours,
Yeah,
fragrant. And ours will never be like that.
exactly. We want to run away from our stool urine.
Yeah.
But here the Lord's is fragrant. What, 8 miles or 80 miles? I forget now, we just
Yeah.
read. 8 miles or 80 miles. That's how our memories are in this Kali Yuga. Short memory. So, but his teachings are very, very important. Mahatsevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes. By serving the devotees, the doors to liberation open. By serving the Mahatmas, the doors to liberation open. Okay. So should we stop here for today? Since we finished the chapter, or you'll want to read the introduction of the next chapter and then we begin the verses tomorrow, as you'll say.
We have time, so we can do the introduction because it
Okay.
continues. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So chapter 6, the activities of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva. This chapter tells how Lord Ṛṣabhadeva left his body. He was not attached to his body, even when it was being burnt up in a forest fire. When the seed of creative activity is burned by the fire of knowledge, the spiritual properties and mystic powers are automatically manifest. Yet, Bhakti Yoga is not affected by these mystic powers. An ordinary yogi is captivated by the mystic powers and his progress checked. Therefore, a perfect yogi does not welcome them. Because the mind is restless and undependable, it must remain always under control. Even the mind of the advanced yogi Ṛṣabhadeva created such a disturbance that he lost his yogic mystic powers. We are going to hear about Ṛṣabhadeva Muni later. Due to a restless mind, even a very advanced yogi can fall down. The mind is so restless that it induces even a perfect yogi to be controlled by the senses. Which other great personality said that the mind is so turbulent, so difficult to control? It's easier to control the wind than to control the mind. Very great personality said that about the mind. Does anyone remember? He said, it's easy to control the wind, but very difficult to control the mind.
Was it Narad Muni?
It's Arjuna. He's telling to Krishna in the 6th chapter of Dhyan Yoga. You know, when
Didn't.
Krishna is telling him, go to the forest and go sit down and do meditation, and Arjuna is like, no way, I can't do that. The mind is too restless. So Krishna tells him, by suitable practice and detachment. Krishna tells him you can control the mind by suitable practice and detachment. Suitable practice of what? Suitable practice of constant hearing and chanting. So anyway, therefore, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva, for the instruction of all yogis, showed the process of quitting the body. While traveling in South India through the provinces of Karnataka, Konka, Venka, and Kuttaka, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva arrived in the neighborhood of Kuttakachal. Suddenly there was a forest fire that burnt the forest and Lord Ṛṣabhadeva's body to ashes. The pastimes of Lord Ṛṣabhadeva as a liberated soul were known by the king of Konka, Venka, and Kuttaka. This king's name was Arhat. He later became captivated by the illusory energy, and in this condition, he set forth the basic principles of Jainism. So it's by this king that who started the Jainism. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva set forth the principles of religion that can free one from material bondage, and he put an end to all kinds of atheistic activities. On this earth, the place known as Bharatvarsh was a very pious land because the Supreme Lord appeared there when he wanted to incarnate. So, Bharatvarsh, India, specifically India, Bharat. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva neglected all the mystic powers for which the so-called yogis hanker. Because of the beauty of devotional service, devotees are not at all interested in so-called mystic power. The master of all yogic power, Lord Krishna, can exhibit all powers on behalf of his devotee. So the devotee is so much in love with Krishna that no amount of powers can take him away from Krishna. His attachment to Krishna is so strong, his love for Krishna is so strong, that even though these mystic powers are so captivating, they're so tempting, but the devotee, he's not interested in them. Devotional service is more valuable than yogic mystic powers. Devotees who are sometimes misled aspire for liberation and mystic powers. The Supreme Lord gives these devotees whatever they desire, but they cannot attain the most important function of devotional service. Devotional service to the Lord is guaranteed for those who do not desire liberation and mystic power. So this liberation means becoming one with the Lord. This is the meaning of that liberation. And mystic power is the Ashtasiddhi. One should desire to go back home, back to Godhead, associate with the Lord, engage in devotional service. Because once one goes to the spiritual world, what is one going to do? Devotional service. So that's why the pure devotee, wherever he is, he engages in pure devotional service. So we'll start reading the texts tomorrow. Then we'll stop here for today. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for